It could be you could do anything as long as you winning, you will. Does that make sense?
Winning, man.
Woo is winning.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that no way better. Woo is winning. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know exactly like what you're going to be comfortable talking about, but everybody keeps saying that you were the trigger man. Is that accurate?
Next question.
Pop Smoke's case suspect is reportedly caught up in a brand new street situation after getting caught slipping by some New York goons. And we're not talking about just anyone. It's the same person who avoided a life sentence because he was too young when everything went down.
Can't talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Why did he end up getting shot anyway? Like, why? Especially
I don't feel like the drugs was part of the situation. I just feel like, I don't know, we was just kids being kids from the hood. Too much movement. That's all, too much movement.
For months, he'd been acting reckless online, disrespecting Pop Smoke's name, throwing shade in comments, and even hopping on podcasts talking about the case like nothing could touch him. But according to sources from the streets, that fearless attitude didn't last. Once the word started spreading, the streets reacted fast. And just when everyone thought it couldn't get more shocking, the situation flipped again. The brother of another person connected to the case was reportedly discovered on a beach, hidden inside a barrel. That's when people realized this wasn't just talk anymore. Things had turned serious. This whole situation feels unreal, but it's being talked about everywhere right now. So let's rewind and go over how all this started. On February 19th, 2020, the music world lost Pop Smoke, one of Brooklyn's brightest rising stars. He was only 20 years old when his life was tragically cut short during a home invasion in the Hollywood Hills. A heartbreaking moment that stunned the entire industry.
Pop Smoke was known by some of the biggest names in the business, like Nicki Minaj and 50 Cent. His murder has stunned fans everywhere.
Everybody's talking about it. Police say suspects broke into his home and shot.
Pop was supposed to be the next big name out of New York, and just like that, everything changed forever. 5 people were later taken into custody in connection with the incident, most of them being teenagers who thought they were about to pull off an easy robbery. But one of them, the one people say was directly involved, was only 15 years old at the time. Because of that, when he admitted what happened in juvenile court, he couldn't receive a life sentence. Instead of facing a long sentence, he got sent to a juvenile facility until he turns 25. And that's it. No life sentence, no real punishment that matches the seriousness of what happened. Fast forward to when he got released, and that's when the story turned completely wild. This dude really believed he could just slide back into regular life like nothing ever happened. He thought since he did his short time in juvenile, everything was all good. But New York had a different plan for him. The streets weren't about to let that slide, not after everything that went down. Before we get into what happened to the case suspect, let's talk about why Pop Smoke's situation hit the world so deep.
Just like take us through the day if you want.
Well, I'm not finna get into detail about too much, but it was a robbery. Nobody did none of that. That's all false information. There's a lot of pages that's like giving out false information. YouTube's like the vlog, false, like they don't know nothing. Y'all don't know nothing y'all talking about. Y'all just assuming and y'all just putting shit together as y'all going around.
This wasn't just another artist losing his life. Pop Smoke was rewriting the sound of New York hip-hop. He brought Brooklyn drill to the spotlight like no one before him. Tracks like Welcome to the Party, Dior, and For the Night weren't just songs. They were full-blown anthems that had every corner of the city lit. Pop had that one-of-a-kind voice, that deep, commanding tone you couldn't mistake for anyone else. He had the energy, the confidence, and that star quality that made him impossible to ignore. Big names were already lining up to work with him. Travis Scott, Nicki Minaj, Quavo. Everybody saw what Pop was building. He was just getting started, and the industry knew he was on track to become a global superstar. His album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, dropped after his passing and went straight to #1. It stayed on the charts for weeks, proving how massive his impact really was. People weren't just grieving an artist. They were grieving what the future could have been. Pop was a generational voice, taken way too soon, and fans everywhere still feel that loss. So when the same suspect got out and started moving reckless again, talking about the situation like it was nothing, the reaction was instant. People were furious, and the tension started rising fast. You gotta understand how deep that disrespect runs. This isn't just about one person. It's about disrespecting an entire city, a whole culture, and millions of fans who still play Pop Smoke's music every single day. So here's what happened. Once the case suspect got released, instead of laying low or showing even a little bit of respect, he decided to jump right into the spotlight. Instead of moving in silence, he hit podcasts, doing full-on interviews, openly talking about the situation like it was just another story to tell. I'm talking full-blown sit-downs where he started describing what went down that night, and the way he spoke about it was straight up shocking. There was no sense of guilt, no care, nothing. Just cold, casual talk like it was nothing major. Let me break down what he actually said because this part is wild. In one of those interviews, the host asked him about that night, trying to find out if it was something planned or if it just went wrong during a robbery, and the way he responded, it was so casual it almost didn't sound real. He said, "It was a robbery. Nobody sent us there. Nobody did none of that. That's all false information. It's a lot of pages. That's like giving out false information on YouTube. They don't know nothing. Y'all don't know nothing. Y'all just assuming and y'all just putting together as y'all going around."
And like the way they bring up the situation and they could be saying like rest in peace to them, they be disrespectful themselves. They be like I don't know. I just feel like if that was my boy and they're posting them and speaking on a situation like that, like I feel like you my op too.
What's the disrespectful part?
Hearing that had people furious because here's this guy talking about one of New York's most loved artists like it's nothing serious. No emotion, no reflection, no sense of the weight behind what happened. Just straight matter-of-fact energy like it didn't change millions of lives. The level of coldness in that tone had everyone stunned and angry all over again. He's out here trying to set the record straight like he's some kind of storyteller, not the main suspect, and it just keeps getting worse. During one interview, the host asked him about all the YouTube videos and media coverage around the case, and this guy had the nerve to act like he's the one being disrespected. He said, the way they bring up the situation and they be saying like, rest in peace to them, they be disrespectful. I don't know. I just feel like if that was my boy and they're posting them and speaking on a situation like that, I feel like you my op too. Can you believe that? He's out here calling people disrespectful for talking about Pop Smoke's passing. The same Pop Smoke whose loss he was directly tied to. The audacity is unbelievable. The lack of awareness is wild beyond words. It's like he's completely detached from the reality of what happened. The way he talks like he's the victim had everyone shaking their heads in disbelief. Fans, interviewers, everybody watching could feel how upside down it sounded. Then, when the interviewer tried to ask how the address even got leaked because there had been talk about Pop's friend Mike D accidentally posting a picture outside the house with a gift bag that showed the address, the suspect instantly backed off. He said, "That part I can't speak about because I don't know how the address got found." That response only made things more suspicious. People felt like he was dodging key details, picking and choosing what to say just to make himself look better. Every word out of his mouth seemed to dig him deeper. And the streets were definitely paying attention to all of it. He straight up said, "I didn't know him at all. I didn't know of him. I probably seen one picture of him before, and I thought he was a model. I was like, he got a good modeling career going on." A model, bro. He thought Pop Smoke, one of the biggest names in rap at the time, was just some model? That right there showed how out of touch he was with the culture. And if that wasn't wild enough, he actually kept going. He said, "All of this happened. I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I don't wake up, I didn't go to sleep. I'm just like, damn, I'm just lost." Lost? You're talking about being lost after everything that happened. Like it's just confusion, not the weight of your actions. That's what he calls remorse? That's what accountability looks like? It's unbelievable how casually he described it. Like he's talking about a bad dream, not a real situation that changed lives forever. But it gets even crazier once you break down the rest of his interview. The host straight up asked him, "Were you the one who pulled the trigger?" And how did he respond? Next question. That's not a denial. That's basically admitting it without saying it. He tried to sound slick and keep things legal, but everyone could read between the lines. The way he dodged that question had people shocked because it came off like he wasn't even trying to hide anymore. His words, his tone, the attitude, all of it painted a picture that made the whole story feel even more twisted. He couldn't admit anything on camera. That would have been reckless. But notice this, he didn't deny it either. He just slid past the question like it was some awkward family topic nobody wants to bring up at dinner. Then he started breaking down what happened that night in more detail, and that's when things got even more confusing. He said, nobody was intended to get hurt. Nobody was intended to get hurt that night. But then, in the same breath, he said there was too much movement going on. The interviewer asked what he meant by that, and he explained, movement from Pop Smoke, movement from everybody in the house. Too much going on. It wasn't intentionally, we wasn't on that. So what's the truth here? Was it really an accident, or was there chaos that caused things to go wrong? Because those are two totally different stories. And the fact that he couldn't keep his version straight while speaking so casually about a situation that ended someone's life had people furious. The way he talked made it sound like he was describing a random event, not a tragedy that changed everything. And then he admitted something that made the story even darker. He said, "I was off a perk, so I wasn't really fully aware of anything." Wait, what? So you're telling people you decided to go on a robbery while high off pills, not even fully aware of what you were doing, and someone lost their life because of it. And somehow you think that makes it better? That kind of logic had everyone stunned. When the interviewer tried to press him further, asking if he or his crew had done things like that before, his only response was, "Next question." Again, not a denial, just another dodge. The way he kept skipping over every key moment made it feel like he was hiding behind vague answers, trying to tell his version without taking real responsibility.
They'd be putting it together with like saying that there was, a bag with an address that was posted online. There was a photo of him and his friend where you could see the address in the background. Is a lot of that not true? It's just people putting shit together after the fact?
Oh, that part I can't speak about because I don't know how the address got. I don't know that part. So I can't even speak on that. I'm not finna share lies. So.
The message he gave off was clear. This wasn't their first time trying to pull something like that. They were really out here living reckless, thinking they could just hit quick scores and nothing would ever go wrong. When the interviewer asked if they knew anyone inside the house that night, or if someone had set Pop Smoke up, he got a little more certain with his answer. He said, "Nobody backdoored, nobody. I know that 100% for sure. Nobody backdoored, nobody. That female, I can't speak too much on it, but she don't know what she's talking about at all." So yeah, he tried to clear up the whole backdoor rumor. But the way he said it came off straight up disrespectful. He was talking about the entire situation like he was doing everyone a favor by setting the record straight instead of realizing he's connected to the loss of someone loved across the world. And just when people thought he might lay low after the interviews, he went and took it to another level. Suddenly, he's online acting like a celebrity, posting on Instagram, dropping subliminal messages, and moving like he's proud of everything that happened. Can you imagine that? Acting like being tied to Pop Smoke's case made him famous, like it's some kind of badge of honor. The street saw everything. Every post, every interview, every little thing he said. People were keeping track of it all. Word travels fast in New York, and everybody was watching how he moved, because here's the truth. When you're from New York and you play a role in taking down one of New York's own, you can't walk around like it's sweet. You gotta move smart, move quiet, because you got eyes on you from every block. Pop Smoke wasn't just another rapper from the city, he was the city. He carried Brooklyn pride in everything he did. His songs weren't just tracks, they were anthems blasting from cars, clubs, and corner stores all across the boroughs. From Brownsville to Bed-Stuy, people felt connected to him. He was the voice of their streets, their energy, their ambition. Dior had the whole city doing the woo walk. Welcome to the Party was blasting at every function, every get-together. It was the soundtrack to New York's energy. Pop Smoke's sound had people feeling unstoppable, like the city was alive again. And meanwhile, this suspect really thought he could sit on podcasts and talk about what happened like it was just another story. He was out there saying things like, "We was just kids being kids, kids from the hood," like that's some kind of excuse. But let's be real. Kids being kids is sneaking out after curfew or getting caught smoking behind school, not breaking into homes and taking lives. He tried to paint the whole thing like it was just youthful mistakes, like they didn't know any better. But that explanation didn't sit right with anyone. People could see through it. The tone, the words, the way he spoke about it, it all came off like he wanted sympathy instead of accountability. And that's what had folks heated, because Pop Smoke wasn't just another name, he represented hope, ambition, and New York pride. Then things took a serious turn. Word started spreading fast through the city. Whispers that the suspect had been moving reckless. People were seeing the interviews, the social media posts, the arrogance. He was out in public, acting like nothing could touch him, like everything was cool because he had already done his short time. But here's what people forget. New York, especially Brooklyn, has a long memory. The streets don't forget disrespect, and they definitely don't forgive it. According to multiple sources close to the situation, things finally caught up to him. Reports started flying that he got caught lacking. And when I say lacking, I mean really lacking. He was supposedly somewhere he had no business being, probably thinking he was safe because he already faced court time. But that kind of confidence can be dangerous in the wrong place. The word is, a group of people who weren't too happy about how he'd been moving decided to pull up on him. The same city he disrespected, the same streets Pop Smoke once repped, came back full circle. Now let's be real. I can't confirm every single detail because when it comes to street situations, stories always shift depending on who you ask. But one thing that's been consistent across multiple sources, he got handled bad. We're talking about a serious beatdown, the kind that makes you rethink every move you ever made. From what's being said, this wasn't just some quick scuffle. Nah, this was personal. The kind of confrontation that sends a message loud and clear, that all that online talk, all that trolling, all those interviews full of disrespect come with a price. Word is, this wasn't random at all. It was organized, deliberate. The streets making sure he understood that mocking one of New York's most beloved artists doesn't slide.
Of him, I probably seen one picture of him before and just like I thought he was a model. I was like, you got a good modeling career going on. I mean, I thought he was just on that route, but then all this happened, I'm like.
They waited for the perfect moment when he was moving careless and unprotected and made sure he felt exactly how serious things had gotten. People said it was like the city itself was reminding him, you don't play with Brooklyn's heart and walk free like nothing happened. And honestly, a lot of people, even those who don't condone violence, said they understood why it happened. Not because anyone's saying violence is right, it's not, but because of the blatant disrespect he showed after everything. You can't be part of something that took a person's life, get a light sentence because you were underage, and then go online acting proud of it, giving interviews, making jokes, bragging like it's entertainment. The streets don't play by courtroom rules. The legal system might have treated him lightly because of his age, but the streets, they don't care about that. There's a whole different code out there, one built on respect, reputation, and consequences. And when you violate that code, especially in a place like New York, it always comes back around one way or another. The streets run on respect, on honor, on never crossing the line when it comes to the dead. And this suspect broke every single one of those codes. But here's where the story takes an even darker twist, one that shows just how deep this whole situation really goes. Remember how 5 people were originally arrested in connection with Pop Smoke's case? One of them was a guy named Jaquan Murphy. He didn't end up being charged for Pop's situation, but right now, he's locked up for a completely different case involving another violent act. Wild, right? But it doesn't stop there, because Jaquan had a brother named JTA Murphy, and that's where things take a turn straight out of a crime thriller. On July 31st, authorities discovered something chilling. JTA's body inside a 55-gallon barrel floating in the water near the Pacific Coast Highway Bridge in Malibu? Yeah, you heard that right. A barrel in the ocean. The story behind it is absolutely insane. A maintenance worker was the first to spot it, just drifting there in the water. He tried to pull it to shore, but the thing was too heavy to move by himself, so he left it there, probably thinking it was just some random trash washed up from the tide. The next morning, a lifeguard on duty noticed the same barrel and decided to swim out and bring it in. But when authorities showed up and opened it, what they found inside left everyone stunned. JTA's body was inside, unclothed, and stuffed in that barrel like he was nothing more than debris. It was one of the most disturbing discoveries Malibu had seen in years. The coroner ruled it a homicide immediately, confirming this wasn't some accident. It was deliberate. And here's what makes it even more heartbreaking. JTA wasn't just anyone. He was an aspiring rapper himself, chasing the same dreams so many young guys from the city share. He loved music, had plans to make it big, and was even connected to the same circle that surrounded his brother's co-defendant from the Pop Smoke case. He probably grew up listening to hip-hop, dreaming about using music to escape the struggle, but instead, his life ended in the most heartbreaking way possible, found inside a barrel drifting in the ocean. That right there is the brutal truth of how the streets can swallow you whole. But here's where things get really wild. According to reports from TMZ and the LA County Sheriff's Department, investigators are now looking into whether JTA's murder might have been revenge connected to Pop Smoke's case. They're exploring the idea that maybe someone close to Pop, or even just a loyal fan who felt like real justice never came, decided to handle things their own way. Think about that for a second. Someone possibly seeking revenge years later, making sure the people tied to Pop's situation paid for what they did. The idea that someone could have been taken out in such a brutal way, stuffed inside a barrel and dumped in the ocean like trash, that's the level of intensity and emotion still surrounding Pop Smoke's name. Ever since Pop's passing, the energy around his story has been heavy. People haven't just been sad. They've been angry, frustrated, and desperate for something that feels like justice. And then you got the main suspect from that case out here doing interviews, cracking jokes, talking like he's untouchable, showing no remorse. That kind of attitude doesn't sit right with anybody. You really think people were gonna just ignore that? You think There aren't folks out there who felt like the system completely failed Pop Smoke and his family, because for a lot of people in those circles, that's exactly how it feels. Like justice got skipped over. And here's what a lot of outsiders don't understand, especially if they've never lived that life. There's a code in the streets. It's not written down anywhere, but everybody who moves in that world knows it by heart. You don't brag about what happened. You don't do interviews about it. You don't go public talking about someone's last moments for attention. And that's exactly why the situation surrounding Pop Smoke's name still refuses to die down. Because every move, every post, every interview connected to that night carries weight. The streets never forgot, and the people who love Pop definitely never forgave how the story played out. After the reports about JTA's death started spreading, the internet went into chaos. Fans were split. Some saying it was karma catching up, others saying it was just another tragedy in a cycle that never ends. Social media lit up with theories, street whispers, and people claiming to know what really went down. But no matter which version you believe, one thing's for sure: the energy around Pop's legacy is still powerful enough to shake things years later. Investigators are still digging into the Malibu case, trying to figure out if there's an actual connection or just coincidence. But the timing, the names involved, it's all too close for comfort. The streets talk, and when they talk, they usually know more than whatever makes it to the news. Everyone's wondering if this was payback, or if JTA just got caught in something way bigger than himself. Meanwhile, the suspect who originally sparked all this attention has gone silent. No more interviews, no more posts, no more public appearances. Word is, he's laying low, realizing that the internet fame he chased might have come with a price he never expected. People have been saying for years that fame and street life don't mix, that trying to live in both worlds always ends badly, and Pop Smoke's story is a painful reminder of that truth. He came up from the same blocks that raised so many before him, turned that struggle into art, and built a sound that put Brooklyn drill on the global stage. But jealousy, greed, and carelessness tore all that down in one night. Now, years later, it's like the ghosts of that night still linger, following everyone who had a hand in it one by one. The cycle of revenge keeps spinning, fueled by pride and pain, and nobody ever really wins in the end. The craziest part? Pop's music is still everywhere. Still blasting in cars, still shaking speakers at parties, still motivating people to chase their dreams. It's almost like his voice refuses to fade, even when everything around his name keeps getting darker. You don't ever move like you're proud of something so dark, especially when the person you're connected to was loved by millions. This suspect broke every rule, every bit of that unspoken street code that keeps respect alive. He walked out of juvenile detention and started moving like he was untouchable, like nothing could touch him. He jumped into interviews talking freely about the situation, like it was just another story for clicks. Then he hit social media, posting like he was some kind of star, like his name belonged next to real artists who earned their fame. It was wild. No remorse, no accountability, no understanding of what his actions actually cost. And of course, the culture responded the way it always has when someone crosses that line. Hip-hop and the streets that built it don't forget disrespect. Not toward legends, not toward the fallen, and definitely not toward someone like Pop Smoke. This wasn't the first time the community had to remind somebody what happens when you ignore the code, and it won't be the last. The streets move by their own rules, and when somebody breaks them publicly, when someone plays with the memory of a figure who meant everything to the city, the response is inevitable. They caught him lacking, and they made an example out of him. That's how it's always been when the balance of respect gets broken. Let's be honest, the legal system failed Pop Smoke. There's no sugarcoating it. The person tied to his loss ended up in juvenile detention until age 25, and that's it. He'll be released still young, with time to start over, to build a life, to chase dreams, to create a family. All the things Pop never got the chance to do. That's what cuts the deepest for people. Knowing the one who caused all this pain gets another shot at life, while Pop's legacy lives on through memories and music. The system might have closed its case, but for the culture and for New York, the story's far from over. So to anyone out there who thinks they can do something foul and then brag about it later, take this as your warning. The internet doesn't forget, the streets don't forget, and eventually you're gonna have to face what you did. One way or another, actions have consequences, and no amount of clout or attention can save you from that. Pop Smoke's legacy is still alive and strong. His voice, his influence, his energy still shape drill music and hip-hop today. Artists continue to honor him, reference him, and try to channel that same spark he brought into every verse and every beat. But no matter how much the culture keeps him alive, the truth remains. The man himself is gone, taken far too soon by people who couldn't see his worth while he was here. Rest in peace to Pop Smoke, a true Brooklyn legend whose name will forever echo through the city streets. And rest in peace to J.T.A. Murphy, another life tangled up in a storm of choices and circumstances that spun way out of control. Every piece of this story is a reminder of how fast things can flip when respect gets lost and ego takes over. Hopefully, people watching this can take something real from it, because the culture's watching, the streets are listening, and justice, it doesn't always come through the courts. Sometimes it comes from the same world you disrespected. That's it for this one, fam. I want to hear from you. Do you think what happened was deserved? Was it real street justice, or just another layer of violence keeping the cycle alive? Should the system handle things tougher when juveniles get caught up in cases like this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to see what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want more deep dives like this. Let's keep this conversation going, because these stories go beyond headlines. They're lessons about pride, choices, and the power of respect.